Now, before we move on, there's also one other strain of religious terrorism that people sitting outside the country often hear about, and that's sectarian. And people often say that it's somehow, connected to what happened during the Afghan Jihad. But I think it has something also to do with the Iranian Revolution.
That's correct. You see, it is a generic statement that people give who do not know the dynamics of terrorism or dynamics of security access in Pakistan. They say every religious extremism in Pakistan has come from Afghanistan. That's nonsense. You see, three major events took place in our region in 1979. Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, the Iranian Revolution, and the Iran-Iraq war. So what happens is, you must keep one thing in mind, is that the Iranian Revolution was a Shia revolution. It tried to export itself. Every revolution does it. It's very natural. It happens when a revolution comes. It has energy, it has power, it tries to export itself in the region, and it did. The Sunni Arabs, naturally, got afraid of this reality. And Iraq was asked to invade Iran. Whatever the dynamics of that, on the surface, you look at Iran fighting with Iraq. But under that dynamic, there are some other fault lines also. It was the Persians fighting the Arabs, and it was the Shias fighting the Sunni Arabs.
Right.
So you see, the dynamics of sectarianism also came violently into the region with the Iran-Iraq war, the Persian-Arab conflict.
True.
Since Pakistan had good relations with both Iranians and with the Arabs, both the war of Iran and Iraq, the war between Persian and Arabs, the war between Shias and Sunnis spilled into Pakistan as well. Every sectarian terrorist group which is in Pakistan today was born in the early 80s.
You don't find traces of them before?
No,
then,
they never existed. You see, so sectarianism have come to Pakistan from the Iran.
Which also coincided with the security situation with Afghanistan, the Soviet invasion, the occupation.
From the Afghan side, the political religious militant groups came, not the sectarians. You see, Taliban are not a sectarian group. Osama is not a sectarian group.
Although they
all the six parties, Mujahideen groups based in Pakistan, were not sectarian groups. So the religious militancy in Pakistan, in this area, is a direct fallout of invasion of Muslim lands by foreign forces. You have to understand one point. There was no need for...
No, but there was one invasion by foreign forces. The other one incident was actually Muslims fighting each other. I mean, the Iranians and the Iraqis.
See, that is the sectarian dynamics of it.
Yeah.
You see, that particular incident brought in the sectarian terrorism in Pakistan. But the problem of political religious militancy, the political dynamics, have come due to foreign invasion of Muslim lands. You see, there was no need for Kashmiri resistance if Indians had not occupied Kashmir. There was no need for Afghan Mujahideen if Soviets had not occupied Afghanistan. There is no need for Taliban resistance if Americans had not occupied Afghanistan.
Right.
There was no need for Iraqi resistance if Americans had not occupied Afghanistan. There was no need for Palestinian resistance if Israelis had not occupied the Palestinian lands.
True.
You see,
True.
The political religious militant groups are a direct fallout of the colonization of Muslim lands.
True.
And the solution is simple.
Solve the problems.
Leave Muslim lands.
But right now, it is the Pakistani state which is having to deal with the fallout from all of these disputes, these problems, because we're dealing with the anger now that has resulted from the Soviet occupation and invasion of Afghanistan, and now the Americans are there, and the other issues as well.